Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
And now for the next 30 minutes, as the world turns.
And I gave it a great deal of thought, Grandpa.
Here is a bulletin from CBS News. In Dallas, Texas, 3 shots were fired at President Kennedy's motorcade in downtown Dallas. The first reports say that President Kennedy has been seriously wounded by this shooting.
56 years ago. 56 years ago. An assassin's bullet changed our country. 56 years ago. You know what happened to the nation? We mourned together. We came together. We took the assassination personal, but we came together. What do you think would happen today? And honestly, God forbid. I don't care who the president is. God forbid something like that happen today. Based on the tribalism, based on who we are at this point in time with everything being personal, based on all of that, what do you think would happen? I think people would be all over Twitter saying, good. Thank God. Surprised it didn't happen sooner. What do you bet? You get people probably on cable television saying, well, you know, it probably is for the best for America. Because we are that bad and that tribal at this point in time. And that's not good. But you go back and think about that for those of you who are old enough to remember. Even some of you who are like, I was just a kid, or some of you are older. That is how bad it has gotten now. When you look at that and how we came together, right? And we mourned as a country. How we had respect for a president in a way that was so much different. You don't think bad things went on back then? I mean, my God, look at how all these presidents run around, the quiet things they had. Something think about then compared to now, where it was a battle of conservatives and Democrats and this, that, and the other. But the reality is we as a nation, while we had our differences, we didn't have the hatred that we have now towards one another. Last night, somebody texted me. And you could text me, 323-538-2423. Just talk about basically what a POS I am. And you know, how I have no morals and how I'm a bad guy because apparently I like the president. By the way, I don't like the president. I don't hate the president. I feel nothing for any politician. Some of them are nice, some of them are but the reality is I have family and you know, I've got my life. I want them to do the job they're there for. That emotion that people feel, that's not who I am. It isn't. I have a tight group of friends and family, and I love them, and I love what I do, and I have passion for what I do because I hope we reach people in a way that is much different than everybody else that's out there screaming and yelling and saying things that are obnoxious and crazy but so he basically tells me, and I'm assuming it's a he. I could be wrong though because I want to make sure we're gender, neutral in this point in time, but tells me how horrible I am, how bad I am, how I have absolutely no morals. And I said, okay, well, we can agree to disagree. Good night. God bless. And then he proceeds to tell me, how I don't know God and how God doesn't like me. And I just sat there and I laughed. And I'm like, wow, that's where we are. You're so emotionally spent. Could you imagine that today? Because I'm watching a lot of this stuff today because I love history, right? Because I go back and I see, first of all, where we came from, how far we've come. But as I watch history, and I'm watching this today, things that you don't even think about, right? The president in Dallas on that day. Streets are lined with people. Now it would be some protesters even getting anywhere near him, right? It's insane. And we're gruff. Oh, God, traffic, da-da-da-da. Streets were lined with people. On top of that, the way that the whole thing broke down. I mean, it started out with, hey, now the days of our life, ooh, as the world turned, whatever it was, whatever they were showing, depending on what, you were watching at CBS and ABC, and just to watch it break down, because they say, and the president's been shot. They didn't really know much more than that. They all had phones, but the phones were rotary phones. You explain to the kids what those are. And then it went straight back into the soap opera. Then there was a little bit more, and they broke in again, and they realized the seriousness of this. And then listen to this. So here's Cronkite, the most trusted man maybe in America. And they're handing him stuff, right? He's in a room full of a bunch of people smoking cigarettes. They're all smoking cigarettes, and he's got his sleeve rolls up. He's got a microphone on a desk, and you can see there's like 4 or 5 different colored phones, but it's black and white, so you can't tell what color they are, but one's dark, one's like light brown, one looks like it's white, and they're all rotary phones, and his sleeves are rolled up, and he's got big glasses, and he puts them down. Everybody's smoking. People are running around. They're handing him cardboard, like black matted cardboard, with pictures on it, because they don't have any film of what was going on. It wasn't like it is today. And they're trying to get information back and forth. So then the first news comes in. A reporter calls and lets them know about Kennedy.
We just have a report from our correspondent Dan Rather in Dallas that he has confirmed that President Kennedy is dead. There is still no official confirmation of this. However, it's a report from our correspondent, Dan Rather, in Dallas, Texas.
So that's the first thing. So there's no confirmed report. They don't even trust their own guy, right? They don't even trust their own guy. What's going on? So you've got the governor who's hit. And by the way, he's hit seriously. He's hit seriously. They go to the Parkland hospital. They have, people are converging. It's like a teaching hospital. So they're converging on this hospital. Information not like it is now. Within seconds, we know everything about everything about everything. The conspiracy theories could start. All kinds of things could start to happen. Stuff would start to swirl. People start yelling with each other. It become racial, become horrible, become awful. It would be just the worst. We would find out how bad we really are, which is so sad, because you'd like to think we're better than that, and I think we are, the majority of people. The problem is the loud, obnoxious ones seem to be the ones that get all the press. So Dan Rather calls up, young Dan Rather, before he made up stories, says, hey, he's dead. Cronkite's like, we can't confirm that. I watched the thing with a doctor today who was there, because it was a teaching hospital, and he said when he brought him in, he knew right away, we're not doing anything. I mean, we can't do anything. I mean, they went through the motions. He goes, but you could see right into his head and out the back of his head and the brain. I mean, it was just nothing they could do. But then they get the flash, as they call it.
From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, some 38 minutes ago.
And you could hear him just go quiet. He puts his glasses down. He looks into the camera. And by the way, the camera, too, it's like shaking up and down. I mean, they're inside of a newsroom. It's not like you see now, green screens and the whole 9 yards. As they break this thing down. But the country came together. The country united and said, this was our president. He may not be who we voted for, who you voted for, but he's our president. And somewhere along the line, our parties have claimed their side, and they seem to only go and try to appease their side. And that's a sad thing. It's a very sad thing. I would like to think we'd be better, but in this day and age, I don't think we would. Because in this day and age of shock and craziness and wackiness, I just don't know if we would. I think we'd attack each other because, quite frankly, I think that's what people expect anymore. And that's a sad, 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 sad state. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Hope you're doing well on this beautiful Friday. Impeachment. Well, guess what?
I think we had a tremendous week with the hoax, you know, the great hoax. They call it the impeachment hoax.
I have no idea who calls it.
And that's really worked out incredibly well, and we have tremendous support.
I don't know who they are. You call it the impeachment hoax. Some other people do. It's like you can't give yourself a nickname, right? So you can call it that, and if other people call it that, that's fine. But you don't give yourself a nickname, right? Like that's just one of those things you don't do. Somebody comes up with a nickname, and they give it to you, and there you go. That's the nickname. Same thing. They call it the impeachment hoax. Who calls it that? You know, the people. Who are the people? I don't know. You call it that, and then there you go. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. A lot of stuff to get to today. We're going to have some fun. I like fun. I like good stories. I do.
Florida drivers might not have the best reputation. So when Anna Sable saw this gray sedan spinning in reverse outside her window in Port St. Lucie,
he was a better driver than a lot of them I've seen.
She wasn't immediately surprised, but police started showing up.
And then I saw another cop car and another cop car.
And then she realized the car had just one occupant, a black lab, rather content in the front seat.
I laughed. I thought they should give the dog a license to drive.
Probably. By the way, I'm going to go out there and say she probably smokes. I'm just saying that. I'm not trying to be a jerk or anything. But, so that's what the dog's doing. It said, I've had enough of this. I'm getting in the car. I got places to go. I got things going on.
Police say the owner just stepped out of the car and the dog somehow knocked the car into reverse.
They were able to finally stop this dog's joy by punching a passcode into the driver's side door to get inside, but not before that dog first took out this mailbox, a trash can, and some bricks in front of a home.
He went around for about an hour without hitting anything at all. Doing pretty good until he hit the mailbox.
The best news, the dog wasn't hurt at all.
Yeah, I saw the dog jump out of the car, wagging his tail, and I was like, okay, good driving.
Best part of the story, he went around for about an hour. We're like, because, you know, people stood out there for 30 minutes going, I don't know what we're going to do. What do you think we should do? I don't know. I mean, we got to do something, right? And eventually, like, we're going to have to put this up the chain of command. See what happens from there. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. That dog sounds awesome. Probably could work with Wounded Paw. Amazing organization. I work with them. You should work with them too. They are incredible. 20 veterans a day on average commit suicide. Think about that. Think about that for a second. They come home, they struggle. Sometimes it's what's inside, the things that have happened, the things they've seen. Sometimes it's physical. Sometimes it's both. That's where Wounded Paw comes in. They rescue dogs that would otherwise be euthanized. They find these animals. They get calls and say, hey, we've got an amazing dog. We have the car dog. This dog can drive. It's incredible. You guys want? And they train that dog. So a dog that is essentially is throwaway becomes a dog that does all kinds of things as service dogs. Sometimes it's just support. Sometimes it's physical. Sometimes it's just the little things it can do that are amazing. But what they do is incredible. And they need your help. Their motto is to save a paw is to save a life. Right now, take action. Turn your extra car, truck, RV, even a boat into a vehicle for change. What are you going to get? A great tax-deductible gift, a smile like you couldn't believe, knowing you've done something. They also take cash. It's amazing. Check it out for yourself, woundedpawproject.org, woundedpawproject.org. It is one of the most incredible things you see, just the way that it's come together. You can call them as well, 844-678-4PAW or woundedpawproject.org. Chad Benson Show.
Plea deal this.
Mueller, arrest me.
Chad will trade you 2 perjury charges for 1 collusion and throw in a reduced charge of obstruction for free.
Yeah, I'd do that.
For just listening to The Chad Benson Show.
Former National Security Advisor John Bolton tweeting that he had been off Twitter for 2 months because the White House refused to return access to his personal account after he resigned, and then asking, out of fear of what I may say, Bolton also tweeted that the president never returned access to his Twitter account, that he had to appeal to Twitter to get it back.
Then he tweeted something cryptic. Stay tuned. For what? I don't know. Something, right? Something may happen. He has, it's interesting because he is sued, or he's in the middle of a lawsuit to essentially be told by the courts if he has to testify But he's also had his attorney say he's got a lot of stuff to say about a lot of different meetings and things that may be very interesting for people to take a peek at. In saying all of that, I think it's weird because I think he wants to be in a position where, well, if I don't have to, I won't. But if I have to, I will. Right? Like, if you're not forcing me, I'm not going to do it. But if you do force me, well, then I'll do it happily. But I don't want to make that decision. And that's why the thing with Trump is you've got to, at some point in time, realize, look, some of these people that you piss off, right? And maybe they piss you off and you could be pissed off. That's fine. But what you do in the public and some of the things, the way you attack them, some of them, the Amarosas of the world and and some of these other ones that you go after, you could sit there and laugh, it's no big deal. But somebody like Bolton, who was part of the whole, I don't want to be part of this drug deal, right? When he was doing his thing, he's like, I don't want to be part of this. No way. What does he have? I don't know. That could be very interesting. Does he have something? I'm sure he does. Will it change minds, though? That's the big thing. Does it change anybody's mind? I don't know if it does. Not at this point in time. I think everybody's kind of made up their mind. Right? Haven't they? I mean, most people made up their mind pre any hearing. Most people made up their mind pre 2019, 18. I mean, the minute he was elected, people were trying to figure stuff out. And along the way, they've made up their mind that he's got to have done something wrong at some point in time, and we need to figure that out. And now they think they got you. But along the way, they protected him in some cases. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see if he's got something super dirty. 323-538-2423. That's the text line. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is both Twitter and Instagram. With climate change swirling out there, we did get one result that I think we can all be excited about. Talk about it straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Reviewing your own documents, you have remembered a lot more.
Yeah, what triggered my memory was someone's reference to A$AP Rocky.
What's my name?
A$AP Rocky.
What's my name?
A$AP Rocky. Everyone was in the loop.
They know.
Chief of Staff Mulvaney.
They know.
Secretary Perry. Giuliani.
They know.
Vice President Pence.
They know.
I emailed Secretary Pompeo.
It's me.
Secretary Pompeo replied,
I
spoke by phone with President Trump.
The devil.
Was there a quid pro quo?
Yeah.
A little A$AP Rocky right there. Come on, made you laugh? No, it didn't. It hurt Trump's feelings. I like it. Made me laugh. Made me laugh. You know what else I liked? We got climate change and all this kind of stuff. We did have a good result out of climate change.
Coldplay's new album drops Friday, but the band won't be touring to support it. The reason? Frontman Chris Martin says touring is just really bad for the environment.
The hardest thing is the flying side of things.
He tells the BBC they're going to take the next year or so to work out the details.
Our dream is to have a show with no single-use plastic, to have it be largely solar-powered.
And he says it's important
not to be too overzealous in criticizing others, because everyone will catch up if you prove that it's easy to do it the right way.
He says he wants their next tour to not only be sustainable, but also beneficial to the environment.
That's what they want. I know. I thought so too, Phil. Like, that's the only way any of them make money. But I think it's so weird nowadays. I don't know. Like, the music industry, every year it's like it's the worst it's ever been, yet we've never made so much money. And the only way you make money is by touring. But Coldplay's not touring, and that's a win. But just to let you guys know, they did play a concert today in Jordan. They streamed it. Maybe that's what you do nowadays. instead of touring. Right? Maybe instead of touring, you can just do what everybody does in Vegas, except stream it. Like do 2 or 3 big shows a year, stream it, put it on theater, like at theaters and stuff. And you could go watch it, and everybody get excited. Hey, here's Coldplay. And you're like, I don't know. He's obnoxious, but whatever. I don't mind Coldplay. He's very talented, full of himself. I think you could tell that, right? He named his kid Apple, which I got no problem with, as a middle name, but it felt a little weird. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. With all that being said, though, he's stopping it because, the world is coming to an end. I think we already know that the world I'm looking outside right now and I'm like, I think the world's pretty much just over.
How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood.
But wait, I've been a consumer reporter for years. I've covered so many scares. Plague, famine, and perpetual war will kill us. We're going to run out of oil. Nuclear power will give us cancer. Killer bees swarm ever closer. Bird flu, flesh-eating bacteria. The list of terrible things that were going to get us is long. None of those scares turned out to be as frightening as the warnings.
Yeah, the warnings are always the scariest, right? Always the scariest thing is the warnings. Oh my God, it's the warning. This is the warning. The warnings are here, and what are we going to do? It's over. We're never going to survive. But the reality is it's all a bunch of baloney. Do I doubt that the climate has changed? No. Right? I don't doubt that at all. The seas have risen? Yeah, they have. People will tell you how much the seas have risen. But we don't have the conversation anymore. And Stossel talked about it, right? With actual people who want to debate it and talk about it. People who are really part of and should be part of it. But because they're not on the right side of it, where they can dispute some of it and say, yeah, you guys are fooling yourself. Let's look at history before you decide that we're going to take this bit and look at this.
So much of what they say deserves debate.
The world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change.
12 years.
Well, and in 12 years, it'll be 12 more years.
David Legates is a professor of climatology at the University of Delaware. Pat Michaels is former president of the American Association of State Climatologists. Willie Soon is an astrophysicist.
It's all about arm waving. It's about emotion, about sending out kids in protest. We have nothing to do with the science.
This group pointed out that even if the planet warms by 5 degrees, humans can adjust.
Yeah, they can. They talked about Holland. They're like, hey, you know what? We're pretty low-lying, so we're going to have to build some dikes and do some other stuff, and we're in a low-lying area, so we better figure something out. And they did. Right? And they also talked about the seas have been rising for 20,000 years. I want to find better ways to take care of things. I can guarantee you these guys who sit here and say the insanity is because they get it. They understand it. They've been in the world of it. They're scientists, for real. You never hear the other side of an argument. It's not even about argument whether we should treat the climate better, treat the world better, treat the earth better. I have news for you. The earth is way stronger than we are. Way more resilient. Way more resilient. And I don't think people understand that. They talk about all kinds of things, right? Like the hurricane.
The alarmists say hurricanes and other storms are getting worse.
It's getting stronger and stronger. The winds are getting harder and harder.
No, they aren't. You can take a look at all the hurricanes around the planet. We can see them since 1970 because we got global satellite coverage. Right. And we can measure their power. And we can add up their power. And there is no significant increase whatsoever. There is no relationship between hurricane activity and the surface temperature of the planet.
No, that's not true because somebody who's not a scientist says it was, and 99% of people who answered something like a long time ago that wasn't, that's what they get. This right here should get people to understand like what we're trying to do in this craziness here of like, we're going to try to get to this position. I want people to understand is like, we can make lots of noises, but listen to this number here.
Government action today will save us.
We have to act now.
The Obama administration's model projects that the amount of global warming that would be saved for going to zero emissions tomorrow, you don't know how to do that, put you back in the Stone Age, but let's just say we did it, would be 14/100ths of a degree Celsius.
So no real effect on the climate, but
you'll sure have an impoverished, dark country, won't you?
Yeah, think about that for a second. Right? Think about that for a second. Impoverished, dark country. And we're not even going to get it 1%? No. 14/100th of 1% is what we're going to get. Soak that up for a second. It all sounds great. And we should be doing better. Finding more things reusable. Finding things that are biodegradable. Taking better care of the oceans and the world that we live in. But it's about one singular thing. And I don't think people understand that. Why don't you guys listen again?
But if what the alarmists say is not true, why would the International Panel on Climate Change, the United Nations, go along with the exaggerations?
Governments like control. Most governments want to keep control, and most governments get bigger and bigger over time.
IPCC does stand for Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change.
Carbon dioxide becomes that molecule by which we can take control of your lives, of your efforts, and everything that goes on.
Are they right? It's confusing when there are so many serious people who are so worried. I wish there were a real debate. Why won't the other side debate?
It's always a question, right? That's it. There's always a question of why we can't have that conversation and debate in all kinds of things. We've replaced facts with feelings. Empathy is more important than actually looking at truth and saying, I mean, we've gotten to this insanity at times. And I've always said this is zero to do about polar bears and ice caps and more to do with the UN and control over time. We're the frog that was in the cool water and it's warming up and they're saying it's getting warmer and warmer, but we're like, well, it's kind of comfortable. And by the time we realize that, we've just kind of handed everything over. That's the scary part. And people seem to be fine with it because you evoke an emotion. What do we have going on right now in politics? Emotions. There's a reason they tell everybody stories, right? You ever watch them? Just watch any debate. Last night, I met a mother of 7 living in her car. They tell a story. What? Because that story is going to evoke an emotion. And when you have an emotion that's evoked, what are you going to do? That's a real story, absolutely. But we don't know the backstory of everything. We know what you're telling us to get us to do something. Right? There's a lot of things to go into, but what they're trying to do is paint a picture. It's the same thing here. They don't show you the good. Everything's bad. It's doom and gloom. I have news for you. I have 2 buddies who are professors at Cal State schools. They'll scream all day in their classroom, climate change, this, that, and the other things that I know when we BS and we play soccer, they don't believe any of it. We'll talk about it. The fear factor, though. Who's writing your check? Right? We see this right now with politics. If you ask politicians and they had nothing at all to lose, no fear that they could get voted out, say on something like Donald Trump, what would they do? But because it's kind of the thing. Oh, some would toe the line, right? And I have news for you. There'd be some Democrats who would say, I think this is stupid. And I'm being honest. I think this is ridiculous and the things that they're trying to do. But we can't have those debates. They live in fear. I understand. I get it. I'd like to have a debate. And we should all want cleaner water, cleaner air, a better environment, a beautiful environment. But if 12 years is when this thing is too late, it's already too late. 323-538-2423 at Chet Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You text the program as well. Love hearing from you. Talk a little movies, right? Like some movies coming out this weekend. lot of other stuff to get to, including what to do and what not to do when it comes to boxes arriving at your house this holiday season. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show, where we reach across the aisle and occasionally poke someone in the eye.
Mr. Rogers, I'm here to interview you.
It is so nice to meet you.
This piece will be for an issue about heroes. Do you consider yourself a hero?
We are trying to give the world positive ways of dealing with their feelings.
Oh, that opens today. Beautiful day in the neighborhood. Tom Hanks. Can't go wrong. People are saying it's amazing. It's awesome. But it's not going to win the weekend. Should come in second or third. Winning the weekend by far is going to be a movie that is, well, it's just a little bit of Frozen. Yeah. 120 million. That's what they're predicting this weekend. 120 million. $120 million for the Frozen movie? Number 2, though, this weekend should be Ford versus Ferrari. It's an interesting, in the National Post. So this feminist writer wrote she went and saw it, and listen to this. You're going to love this. Picture this. During all 152 minutes of the film, which for those who love vintage racing cars will feel good as an ice cream sundae on a Sunday afternoon. And you can read all about that here. Men dominate the screen 98% of the time by my unofficial count. There are executive suites at Ford and Ferrari, in the workshop, as well as the garages in Venice, on the track as well. And when I say men, I mean white, straight men. Oh, they said Ford versus Ferrari shows a generation best left dead and gone. You know what they should have done? They should have done Ford versus Ferrari, and we're just like, just like they were thinking about casting Julia Roberts, right? Yeah. As a black actress. Wait, what? Oh, yeah. Maybe they should have just changed everything here. Could have made everybody gender neutral. I mean, you're telling a true story, right? You're telling a true story. So why not? Remember Colin Quinn in his last comedy special? We were talking about it. And he goes, I'm always so scared. And he goes, I'll tell a true story. And somebody go, what does he have to be Mexican in your true story? It's like that's where we are nowadays. Let me tell you how it was back then. Ford and Ferrari and that situation, yeah, it was that. It was men. It was adrenaline. It was craziness. It was men. If she can't stand that, then she does not want to see The Irishman, which is everybody's saying Scorsese's masterpiece. Because apparently in that movie, I think Anna Paquin's in it, and I think she has like 6 words, and she's the woman that speaks the most. Speaking of cars, so they debuted the Cyberpunk, which is Tesla's new weird truck. If you've not seen it, think, hey, remember that car you drew when you were like 5 years old? Yeah, that's it.
We have to have a pickup truck. So I present to you the Cybertruck.
So it's the Cybertruck. So they debut it, comes out, and it looks like what would happen if you were to go, like, what would a DeLorean look like if we put 2 of them together? And you're like, oh my God, that's what it looks like. So then it's supposed to be, in theory, bulletproof, right? So the glass and everything, I don't know why you want one, right? And they started like $38, $40 grand. So in theory, it's supposed to be bulletproof. So it's this metallic silver. And again, I don't know the truck thing. I don't know where it comes from, but that's what they're trying to tell us it looks like. So then they take out this thing and they're going to throw something out the window to show you how amazing and bulletproof it is.
Oh, my God. Well, maybe that was a little too hard.
And then there was 2 windows, and they broke them both. So obviously, it didn't work the way they thought. And it doesn't look like anything out there. It's pretty ugly. I'm not going to lie to you. But is it ugly cool? Like the worst car I've ever seen, I think it was the Pontiac Aztek. That's what this looks like. Kinda. But a DeLorean. You can't even describe it. It's just, it's awful. But is it awful? Is it ugly beautiful? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. We were talking about JFK earlier and how the nation came together, and somebody tweeted at us and said, you know what, we had our differences and there were jerks out there, but the nation did come together because that was more important. Right? Even Ford with Nixon, it's like we have to pardon. Why? Because we need to bring the nation together. We need to heal the nation. We don't need to go and do other things and make this even more contentious. Look where we are now. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
There's more breadcrumb trails to follow, and there's more investigating to do. I think they have enough information. Do you bring Volcker back? Do you bring Sondland back? I think Democrats got to be careful here, right? They've got to win a political argument. They can win the technical, but they got to win a political argument. The Democrats have to think long and hard about an appearance that they're sort of short-circuiting this, that they're cutting off leads when they should continue to go only because they want to avoid the presidential race.
Yeah, Chuck,
they got to be careful.
Well, yeah, they've got to avoid it. Absolutely, they have to avoid it. Because they've got Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, Cory Booker. I mean, they've got people that are going to have to sit there. Mitch McConnell, in theory, could drag this thing out for months. They think they've got enough, right? But the other side of things is the polls are out over and over again, and a lot of people in America are like, yeah, he did some stuff that was shady, and we're not going to BS that. There's some shady stuff that went on there, right? Do I feel he did some shady stuff for his personal benefit? Yes. Do I think he didn't? Do I think he thought he did anything wrong? No. Which is weird, but like that's also is what it is. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if the Senate isn't going to really give it, because much like most of America, they've also made up their mind. Now, could there be somebody out there, right? This Parnev guy and a few of the others that maybe know some stuff? Yeah. Is Rudy a problem? I think we all know Rudy's a problem.
The scheduled public hearings ending Thursday with former top National Security Council official Dr. Fiona Hill quoting former National Security Advisor John Bolton as calling the president's personal attorney Rudy Giuliani a hand grenade who's going to blow everybody up.
Did you understand what he meant by that?
And that he was clearly pushing forward issues and ideas that would, probably come back to haunt us. And in fact, I think that's where we are today.
Yeah. Now, with all that being said, though, so many people have already made up their minds. So many people have already said, well, that's it. You know, you thought he was guilty or innocent. None of that has changed because everybody's already come in with their own verdict in their mind. So they could do a lot of different things, right? But the reality is this is what it is. They've had their run. They don't feel they need to do any more. and we move on from there.
Well, there are no more public hearings scheduled, Tony. Democrats tell us they do believe that they have the evidence they need to move forward. And so the House Intelligence Committee, which held all these hearings, will now spend the next week or two writing up a report, sending it to the House Judiciary Committee, which would then draft articles of impeachment.
Now, the judiciary could actually hold hearings themselves. The problem with that is it's all an even playing field. So if they decide they're going to hold hearings, they can bring people in, but so can the Republicans, and they don't have to worry about it being blocked. There's no out of shift. And also on top of that, what I've been told by somebody who's on that side of the aisle that's not on Trump's side of the aisle is they trust Adam Schiff in this a little bit more than they trust Nadler. So they are just going to go with this. They think they've got everything.
Looking ahead to a possible Senate trial, President Trump met Thursday with key GOP senators, notably frequent Trump critic Mitt Romney and Maine's Susan Collins.
When it gets to the Senate, we're going to do it. We're going to do it right. Now, everybody's going to have their day in court.
Democrats argued Senate Republicans shouldn't discuss impeachment with the president.
He's trying to taint the jury pool, and they should be above it.
Well, they should, but they're on his team. Secondly, and I think this is vitally important, you have people running for president, right, to be the nominee in the Democratic Party who are also going to be sitting, quote unquote, in that room on that jury. So are they going to recuse themselves? Which, in theory, would be a great idea for them, right? Because if Mitch drags this thing on through, say, January into February, well, then you're starting to talk about, wait, what? We've got Iowa? We haven't been able to get out and campaign? I mean, Elizabeth Warren hasn't voted in God knows how long. Go look at her voting record since July. At least Bob Dole said, if I'm going to run for president, I can't do this. Somebody needs to be here full time. Bernie? Anybody? Nah. We're out of here. But they'd have to be there for this. They'd have to be there for this. So what happens? Well, the good news is, for America, is Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell are doing this together. Even though Mitch controls everything, right? Like Adam Schiff did, Mitch can control everything. He could set the rules. But he wants the rules to be, hey, this is it. We're setting the rules together. It's going to be bipartisan. We're going to hear it, and then we're going to find him not guilty. That's kind of the way it is at this point in time. And, yeah, he met with Mitt Romney and Susan Collins. Collins got a lot of issues. The Kavanaugh thing is a big issue. That's a big issue. The second issue is, she's in a little bit of a purpley state. A little bit more blue than purple. At the same time, Mitt Romney's not really worried, right? He just got voted in. So he's not super worried. But I don't think he's going to jump ship. I don't think either of them are at this point in time. And even if they do, you're going to need how many Republicans to do that? Right? You need 67? So you're going to need almost 20? I don't think that's happening. And on top of that, you may need more because there are some Democrats who are in red states who are looking around going, nah, I can't do it. I can't. I mean, we'd all love it if it was like 100 one way, 100 another. It's just not going to happen, right? And this has become so political. As political as the whole thing was with Clinton, you had Republicans going, no, we're not going to vote to impeach him. Senators. I mean, this is a completely different world that we live in now. And the battle is on, and politics is no longer just behind closed doors. And arguments rarely take place or debates to one another. Now, It's out in the public. It's on Twitter. It's on all of these other things. And that's where it takes place. And they take their marching orders in many cases, like a lot of CEOs doing everything else, is which way the wind's blowing on Twitter. Sad but true.
As soon as Twitter announced last month it would ban political ads from the platform, questions emerged about what that would entail. The social media companies tried to clarify ahead of the ban taking effect today and says anything referencing an elected or appointed official, a candidate, or a political party is not allowed. An immediate gray area is ads specific to issues. Twitter says it will allow ads about topics like the environment, but not anything calling for specific outcomes related to those topics. Twitter says it's moving quickly because the timing is urgent. Brian Clark, ABC News.
Yeah. And look, I look at something like this, like Twitter, like where everybody battles, and that's why they're trying to do this. You've got what's going on. They're saying that, look, Russia's coming harder and harder, right? The intel community was briefed that Russia was totally playing this game of trying to make, in particular, our politicians believe that the Ukraine had something to do with it. They are great at this. But the reality is no matter what we do, we spread more disinformation than anybody else at this point in time. They've set the seed of doubt and the craziness out there. But our biggest guilt is our laziness and the fact that we want affirmation rather than information. Nobody's going to go look somewhere else. They're like, is this real? Is this stuff real? No, they'll just go, oh, that looks like something that I would believe in, so I'm just going to share it. And that's nuts. That is absolutely nuts. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. By the way, this was articles of impeachment, February 12th, 1999. Article 1. Not guilty, 55. 10 Republicans voted with 45 Democrats. Article 2, not guilty, 50-50. You need 67. So 5 switch there. There you go. You may even have that. So getting what you think you're going to get it's going to be tough. It is. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can love me, hate me. I'm good with all of it. I like saving you guys at times, certain situations where things could get crazy. So I care. It's holiday season, so I want you guys to understand pirate time.
With the holiday shopping season here, it is time to safeguard yourself against those porch pirates from stealing your deliveries this year. New numbers of package thefts place Los Angeles actually 9th when it comes to thefts in the United States. The San Francisco metro area takes the top spot. Now, SafeWise did compare FBI crime data to Google searches for missing or stolen packages to create this top 10 list they have. Nearly 26 million Americans in 2017 alone were struck by porch pirates.
Yeah. I still never understand the whole, but whatever. People do it. They're like, I'm going to go steal somebody's box. What is it? Oh, look at that. I got shoelaces. That's super awesome. Very excited about that. I guess you get lucky, right? If you do it enough. So here's the top 10, right? If you're on this list, you suck, essentially, as far as, or you live pretty decently, but you kind of suck, if that makes sense. Because everybody's coming to steal your stuff, but that's only because you probably figure you have nice stuff. Greater Sacramento metro area, number 10. Los Angeles, which is probably not even crime there, right? Like L.A., don't worry about it, right? It's probably a homeless. You're fine. Denver, Austin, Chicago, Seattle, Tacoma, Baltimore, Portland, Salt Lake City, and the greater San Francisco metro is number 1. Again, probably not even a crime. It's no big deal. It's no big deal. Oh, don't worry about it. We're not going to prosecute that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet us. Love hearing from all of you guys. Little what's trending straight ahead.
I can't take it anymore!
Well, get over it. It's time to forge a new path with your very own political cartographer, Chad.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? Oh, so much wacky stuff trending. You mean wacky? Oh, I do. Would not tell you anything but wackiness. Mandalorian, episode 3, trending. JFK, 56th anniversary. Conspiracy theories, right? There's one you can get behind and ask all kinds of questions about, right? Because there still feels like there's a lot of untied things. And sometimes it is Occam's razor. It's just the easiest thing because it's the real thing. And sometimes there's a lot of other stuff. Michael J. Pollard, character actor, died today. And Floyd Mayweather, apparently he's coming out of retirement. I don't know why. I don't have enough money. He's actually good with his money. Weird, I know, right? Twitter, Tesla pickup truck, if you've not seen it, go look. It's just awful. Just awful. Lindsey Graham is a coward. If you haven't heard, we might play it here a little bit later. But Marine vet stopped him, wanted to talk about, hey, you swore an oath. I swore an oath. Right? The president is going against that oath. What are you going to do? And he just kind of stormed off and went into his little room there. Jerry Sandusky, who was resentenced today to the same amount of time that he got before. Apparently he's disappointed. You're an awful human being, Jerry. That you're just an awful, awful person. The fact is, you're shocked by all the things you did. Really? You're shocked? That right there was like, that's talk about tone deaf. And the other thing that is trending today is its 7th anniversary of one of the greatest, best football plays of all time.
Well, years ago, we talked to Tom Moore, then at Indianapolis, the offensive coordinator. You got a busted play here, and then Sanchez gets hit. The ball is loose, and it's alive.
I have never seen this before in my life. Watch this. Vince Wilfork is going to throw Brandon Moore back into his quarterback. He's going to fumble the football. This is what Reggie White used to do to people, forklift them and just lift them off the ground. Mark Sanchez not expecting it, and it was the backside of Brandon Moore.
Yep, butt fumble. And if you've not seen it, Producer Phil, you've seen it how many? It's hilarious, isn't it?
Oh, it's hysterical.
So Mark Sanchez, he gets the ball from under center. He turns to his right to hand the ball off. The running back runs to the left side. So obviously there's a mix-up. He takes 2 steps backwards and then says, no, I'm just going to run. He turns then, head still down, runs straight into his giant, huge offensive lineman and hits him right in the ass. And the ball pops out. The Patriots pick it up, run in and score a touchdown. And it happens to also be one of those times like when, like, everything, like, there's people out there. My friend Ray, like, every embarrassing thing that's ever happened to him in his life happened in front of me. It's the same thing with the Jets and the Patriots. Every hilariously bad, funny thing while the Patriots can score a touchdown and then look over the Jets and shake their head. Even this year, right? Their young quarterback, the Jets, he said he was seeing ghosts out there. It's like everything bad happens right there on national TV. Butt fumble. And I feel bad. Sanchez, good dude. See him tomorrow on Fox. There's all the football stuff. And you just go, every time I look at him, I think, you ran into somebody's butt and the ball went away. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show, your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. 56 years later since Kennedy's assassination, people are still like, maybe the mob did kill him. Maybe it was the CIA. Maybe it was both. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
But apparently it's all hearsay. Even when you actually hear the president, Mr. Holmes, that's hearsay. We can't rely on people saying what the president said. Apparently we can only rely on what the president says. There, we shouldn't even rely on that either. We shouldn't really rely on what the president said in the call record. We should imagine he said something else. We should imagine he said something about actually fighting corruption instead of what he actually said, which was...
What was it? Oh, for the love of God. We all know this is going to the place that it was always going to go, which is the Senate for whether or not they're going to remove him. That's where the trial's going to be. It's happening. You can hate it. You can love it. You can hope. You can pray. But at this point in time, look, anything is possible. At this point in time, he is not going anywhere. It's just not happening. He's not going anywhere at all. And he says he wants a trial. Well, you're going to get a trial. Congratulations, you're a winner. But it's not going the way I think that the Democrats were hoping that America was going to see this, and that somehow the people that have supported Trump and that continue to support Trump magically go, what? The spell's working off? And now I can... No, it's not. It's just not happening. Now, could something be so outrageous that comes up in the Senate trial? It's possible. Does Bolton have something? John or Michael? Don't know, right? Because Bolton now is saying he made his appearance again today, like, stay tuned, this really cryptic thing, and then his account was suspended by the White House. They said his account was blocked. Why? Well, I'm sure there's a lot of, and this goes back to also one of those things where, remember how Trump treats people on the way out, right? Remember that. If he thinks you've wronged him, or you even say something offhanded, he comes for you hard, not realizing down the road you may have other things that could bite him in the ass.
The White House has blocked him. He was hoping to join on to a court case to get a ruling as to whether he had to appear, but he's come up a lot in testimony, and his lawyer has actually written a letter saying that Bolton has a lot of information, that he was in on a lot of these meetings, and some meetings that we haven't even heard about yet.
Those are the things that get you. The phone call, get over it. All the other stuff along the way is what people should be looking at. All the other stuff along the way is what people should be paying attention to. And still, there's another thing that's out there. You've got the Rudy problem, always, always, always.
The scheduled public hearings ending Thursday with former top National Security Council official Dr. Fiona Hill quoting former National Security Advisor John Bolton as calling the president's personal attorney Rudy Giuliani a hand grenade who's going to blow everybody up.
Did you understand what he meant by that?
And that he was clearly pushing forward issues and ideas that would, probably come back to haunt us. And in fact, I think that that's where we are today.
Yeah, that's exactly where we are today. That's exactly where we are today. Because I think out of all of the stuff that is going on, out of everything that's happening, whether they believe he did something wrong or didn't do something wrong, and it's plain to see that he tried to do something, the reality is all that matters is what those senators think, if there's going to be a removal or not. And based on everything that we've seen so far, I don't think it's happening. And I say that because I still think Rudy's got a bigger part to play in this. Bolton may have a bigger part. And I still think there's a couple pissed off Ukrainians who funneled a ton of money in and out of places in hopes of access on both sides. And I want to know, what do they know? Right? And Trump says he wants a trial.
I want a trial. I could think I could have it.
You want a trial?
Whatever I want. Oh, I would. Look.
Yeah. You better be. Yeah, I want a trial. Okay. You may get one sooner than you think. Even though some people are saying, there's a 50-50 chance that they may not do this. That's what some Republicans are saying in Congress. No, it's coming. It is. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Love hearing from each and every one of you. Now imagine this for just a second. You're in your own home, and you're a mom, even though you're a stepmom, and the next thing you know, you're in some serious trouble because you were topless and not just wandering around flaunting it because you were doing something, and now you face some serious charges.
A husband and wife who were both topless in their own home, but she's the one that's being charged with lewdness. Tilly Buchanan and her husband were installing fiberglass in their home. Apparently, they stripped down to their underwear to get rid of the irritating fibers. That's when Tilly's stepchildren wandered into the garage and later told their mother what they had seen. Tilly was charged with being topless in front of minors. Her husband, the father of those 3 kids, was also shirtless. The incident happened in 2017, and now she's arguing that the state's law on lewdness is unfair because it treats men and women differently.
Yes, and on top of that, you're in your own damn home. They're your stepkids. It wasn't like you were doing something crazy. It wasn't like there was any of this wildness going on or any of this stuff. What if you would have just gotten out of the shower? Well, did you know that she showers naked? I mean, it's ridiculous. And can we just get over the fact it's a boob, it's a nipple? Let's move on.
It was in the privacy of my own home. My husband was right next to me in the exact same manner that I was, and he's not being prosecuted.
So Tilly's attorneys are asking the judge to exonerate her and set a precedent that could prevent other women from being in a similar situation. But, I mean, get this, if convicted, she may have to register as a sex offender for the next decade. But
which seems utterly absurd. It is her house,
Yeah.
but I guess the judge will decide.
Yes. Can you imagine that? And the mom of the children said something. And there's more to the backstory here, but I just have a feeling, based on the stuff that I've read, based on a lot of other things, I feel like this is a situation where the bitter custody battle that has gone on and probably played itself out over time is still there, and that people are looking. But you're in your own home. It wasn't like they were doing something, right, that adults can do who are married in their own home. And they got caught. They were working in the garage around fiberglass. And for any of you who've ever done anything like that and got fiberglass and how itchy and nasty and gnarly it is, it's in the garage, right? Like, it's just insane to think that maybe, just maybe, she could be facing 10 years as a sex offender. Which probably means that the kids can't be over there, or if she's there and they're still together, she'll have to go somewhere else. I mean, those are the kind of insane. They'll have to move if they're close to a school. I mean, that's the insanity of stuff like this.
The acting Secretary of Homeland Security has paid his first visit to the southern border since taking on his new job last week. And Chad Wolf says land acquisition for a barrier is moving along.
We continue to push that. I understand the skepticism.
Skepticism from people like Noel Benavides.
This property has been in my wife's family since 1767.
The goal is to complete at least 450 miles of barrier before the end of 2020. But after talking with the head of the Army Corps of Engineers, Wolf says
he's confident that we can acquire the land and we can complete construction.
Dozens of families have filed suit to hold on to their property.
Absolutely. 110%. It's insane. But it's for the wall. The wall that what? I mean, did you see did you see they cut a hole in one of the part of the wall where you could drive trucks through? I mean, I understand what they're trying to do, but this is nuts. Right? This is, and if it's your land, you say, well, we should be. If it was your land, right? If it's your house, if it's your property, and they say that this is what they're going to do, they're going to come and take some of this, they're going to try to acquire it. You'd be like, no. And eventually, you know what they're going to do? They're going to do everything they can to try to acquire it, and then eventually they're going to take it. They're going to claim eminent domain. This is something that needs to be done. No, I understand. I do. And still, remember, with this whole wall thing, remember there are certain places that there is no chance for eminent domain. They will never acquire the land because it's Native American land. And it's just not going to happen. And those places are just a corridor. They can't even, They can't. I was talking to a border agent and said that they won't even allow us to put roads into certain areas. They won't even allow us to do that. Not even because so many of the Native Americans are, in a lot of ways, kind of fine with it, right? They understand what's going on. So turn a blind eye. I'd be frustrated. They came and tried to take your land. Think about it now, today. Think if the city tried to come and take your house. What would you say? Well, it's for the betterment of everybody. You'd be like, get out of here. Well, this really is, Chad, because it's about immigration. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. There's a lot of ways of doing things the right way. But a wall is more a symbol than anything else. Not that it can't work in certain areas, but to think it's the end-all to be-all and to know that you can't put it everywhere and that the ingeniousness and the determination of a person who walked 1,000 miles to try to get over something, there's other ways, like they're trying to do with Guatemala today now, where it's the first safe city or state, country you come into. So you've got to apply in your hometown. If you get here, you're going to be sent back. These are the things that we need to do in a real way. But I understand that that's a main thing of the pillar of his campaign was that. But I just sit there and laugh because I've been to the border and I understand that you can go and say you're going to do this. And when I was down at McAllen and I'm down there on the Rio Grande and we're looking and we're laughing because it's like they said, if you build an 18-foot wall, I'll show you 19-foot ladders. And that's what he says. We got so many ladders when we put this wall in that we were taking it down to Home Depot and all these places. And they're like, don't bring us these things. We don't need them. You've given us so many, all of these things. It's ridiculous. Better ways of going about doing it, and including forcing the law, which we kind of always forget to do. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Twitter, MyPillow. Sleep well, I did. Found my little go anywhere pillow. Oh, like a light last night. MyPillow has been with me since the beginning, and they are doing amazing things for my listeners, you guys out there. How about this? Deep discounts on everything, right? You go to MyPillow.com, click on the new radio listener special. You're going to discounts that are huge. Mattress toppers, bed sheets, MyPillows, and they brought back the popular 2-for-1. And with the holidays being here, 2-for-1 is this. You buy one for yourself, you give somebody one. It is like you bought yourself a present, all the while killing two birds with one stone. It's incredible. 60-day money-back guarantee and a 10-year warranty. So go to MyPillow.com, new radio listener tab. Get the huge, deep, deep discounts. Type in code Benson. Buy one, get one free going on right now. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. Chad Benson Show.
Don't let the Washington Beltway strangle you. This is where the exhausted majority comes to refuel, realign, and reevaluate. This is Chad Benson.
Scooter Braun wants a swift sit-down. He's the guy who bought Taylor Swift's back catalog. Recently, she went public saying he was stopping her from performing her songs. He says since then, he and his family have been getting death threats, sharing one on Instagram that reads, "Why don't you just die with your children? I will buy a gun tomorrow and shoot you all in the head." He claims he's tried to reach out to Swift several times to resolve the issue, but she won't talk. He wants her to come to the table and stop the public statements, which he says at this point are putting his family's safety at risk.
Yeah, big time. And he actually spoke about it, which he doesn't do at all. He wants no part of any of this, but he spoke about it, about what's going on. And it's completely sad what's taking place. These are people who worked together at one point in time, and now there's a battle that's going on, and it's ugly.
It's hard because I can handle it pretty easily, but when it gets to a place where there's death threats and there's offices being called and people being threatened in the manner that I just think it's got out of hand.
Yeah, it's gotten more than out of hand. It has. It's an ugly situation that shouldn't get there. And this is the crazy emotional lunacy that we've been talking about, right? Like throughout the day, JFK, it's the 56th anniversary of his assassination. And as we reflect on that, think what that would be like today. The nation mourned together. If something, God forbid, happened to Donald Trump, right? Whether you like him or you don't like him, but God forbid, if something happened, could you imagine what people would be like today? How vicious they would be? This is over somebody who has hundreds of millions of dollars, who's upset and angry over something that she always perceives to be as a victim, and she's got people threatening this guy.
This is going to be the most controversial thing I say. I don't know where we got messed up along the way that we decided being politically correct is more important than having conflict resolution. And I just think you need to speak to each other. People are allowed to grow as human beings. They're allowed to have conversations. They're allowed to change. They're allowed to change their mind. They're allowed to go from not liking to each other to liking each other and vice versa. But you don't find that out just yelling at each other. You find that out by showing each other respect and having a conversation.
Yeah, but we don't do that anymore. Why would we do that? We can sit there and yell at each other. I mean, that's really the most exciting thing is yelling at each other all the time. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Love hearing from every single one of you. Again, the week, as it comes to a close, it started in one area that we knew it was going to start at, and it's ending in the same place we knew it was. Now it's everybody takes their battle positions. The one thing that's been very interesting today is John Bolton kind of restarted his Twitter, and then it was like, nah.
The White House has blocked him. He was hoping to join on to a court case to get a ruling as to whether he had to appear, but he's come up a lot in testimony, and his lawyer has actually written a letter saying that Bolton has a lot of information, that he was in on a lot of these meetings, and some meetings that we haven't even heard about yet.
Yeah. So is there more there? Oh, absolutely. You know there's more there. What will it be? I couldn't tell you. But he, at one time, everybody said he said something along the lines of, I don't know what kind of drug deal that Trump and them are cooking up, but I don't want to be a part of it. Oh, that's not very, no, it's not very nice. It's not a nice thing to say at all. It's an ugly thing to say. We know where this is going, though, right? We do. Bolton, Giuliani, few others out there may hold, if there's any sway to come in the Senate, it would have to be earth-shattering, and it would have to be from somebody like a John Bolton to, I think, really persuade senators to take a hard look. Because at this point in time, I still do not see at all senators deviating in any way, shape, or form. You may have a moderate here or there Republican that switches, or somebody who's not really worried about their seat, Mitt Romney, right? Susan Collins is. But she's got a lot of issues to go along with whether or not she does this, because also it took place with Kavanaugh. So there's a lot of battle going on there. And at the same time, you're going to have some senators who potentially are Democrats who are sitting there thinking, I'm in a red state and I've got to take a hard look, right, at what I'm going to do here. So it's going to be interesting. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Love hearing from each and every one of you. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
And now for the next 30 minutes, as the world turns.
Yes, 56 years ago, people were watching it. As the world turns, going about their day normally. Remember what it was like. Those many years ago, if you're old enough to remember, you've seen some stuff. We were just talking about off there with producer Anthony. You know, he said he just remembered the whole week was nothing but all my cartoons being gone. Why is it important? Because on this day, 56 years ago, the world changed.
And I gave it a great deal of thought, Grandpa.
Here is a bulletin from CBS News. In Dallas, Texas, 3 shots were fired at President Kennedy's motorcade in downtown Dallas. The first reports say that President Kennedy has been seriously wounded by this shooting.
Yes, seriously wounded to say the least. It was so different. So I'm watching a bunch of stuff today, replaying some of watching the doctors who are now older who were there. Some of them were student doctors and what was going on at the Parkland, hospital and all of this stuff. But just watching the people and just watching the fact that, there's Trump. I mean, not Trump, but Kennedy in Dallas, right? And he's open air, the whole 9 yards. Jackie's with him. The governor at the time of Texas with him. All of this stuff is going on. All these people are lining the streets, right? You don't see the protests and the craziness you see nowadays. You see all of these people lining the streets and people are waving and doing all of these things. And it's just so fascinating because also to see how times have changed because they go immediately into that. What they said is he was shot. And then they go right back into the soap opera. And then a few minutes later, it comes back on. There's Cronkite. They're in a newsroom. People are smoking, which is a trip, right, to see. Like everybody's smoking. I was telling producer Phil yesterday, I watched, I think it was 12 Days about Kennedy and Cuban Missile Crisis and the whole 9 yards. And the thing that I took away more than anything is everybody smoked back then. So they're all smoking and they didn't even have footage of it. They had still pictures that they were bringing in and handing to Cronkite, who's in front of a boom microphone. His sleeves are rolled up. It's black and white. You can see a dozen phones, all of them, by the way, rotary phones, which kids wouldn't even know what to do with nowadays. So there was the way it was going was incredible. But who broke the news about his death? Listen to the name.
We just have a report from our correspondent Dan Rather in Dallas that he has confirmed that President Kennedy is dead. There is still no official confirmation of this. However, it's a report from our correspondent Dan Rather in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah, so Cronkite goes on with that, but it wasn't the official word, because when he got the official word, the flash, if they will, the change, you could hear it in his voice. He went from being America's most trusted, maybe most trusted individual, to an American and a human being when it was official.
From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, some 38 minutes ago.
You can see him just break up. Flash forward 56 years. We can't go 5 minutes on YouTube, Twitter, news without insanity and screaming and yelling. What would that be like in today's world? If God forbid something happened to Trump, right? If God forbid, because we had Steve Scalise, we've had issues, but God forbid something like that happened. With the nastiness and the vileness of the world we live in today, could you imagine what that would be like? Could you imagine for a second what that would be like? Especially if it was politically motivated, right? Because we all knew what happened when Reagan got shot. We're like, this guy's a little nuts. But if it was politically motivated as well, the insanity, the chaos, the craziness of just what took place. And here's the other thing. Think about the media for a second. Just for a second. Think about the media. So, and I'm not talking about the Fox, right, who's in love with Trump. You know, some of them, not all of them, but a majority of them, the Breitbarts of the world and the right-leaning media. But think about everybody who, for the last 4 years, but 3 years as him president, has talked about what a vile human being is, how awful he is, and how horrible he is, and how everything is done wrong. If something happened today, what that would look like. Because you're going to have to come on and say, what, nice things about him? No. No. We were talking to Jack earlier. What did he say? Right? He said, God, there'd be people who would come on television and say horrible things. Because that's what it is. And that's a sad statement on who we are. That's a sad statement on a lot of us. Because we are at that point of, you know, where it is ridiculous. Last night, I got a text from somebody who just talked about what a horrible human being I am, how awful I am, and my kind of people should go away. And I said, we just agree to disagree, but God bless you. And he says, you don't know God. God hates you or something. And I just started laughing. I'm like, wow, that's where we are. Puts it in perspective. It does. It puts it absolutely in perspective of all of this. You remember what happened when Nixon resigned? Ford's like, we're going to impeach. He's like, why? Because we have to heal the country. Are we past the point of healing where we can even have conversations with one another? Are we past that point? I hope not. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from every single one of you. Hope you're doing well on this Friday. The question of what's next when it comes to impeachment is very real because, as we know, over the last couple days with the politics, the fighting, and all of this stuff, we've spent a few weeks seeing people who we knew a little bit about, and they came out and let everything go out there. And now it's time to move from one side to another side in the impeachment world before we go to the side.
Well, there are no more public hearings scheduled, Tony. Democrats tell us they do believe that they have the evidence they need to move forward. And so the House Intelligence Committee, which held all these hearings, will now spend the next week or two writing up a report, sending it to the House Judiciary Committee, which would then draft articles of impeachment.
Now, the Judiciary Committee can themselves have hearings. The difference between this and the other side is, Nadler's running it, and I don't think a lot of people, even the Democrats, trust him as much. When I was talking to Andy Biggs the other day, there's not as much trust as I think they have when it comes to what Schiff was doing. Secondly, is it's a level playing field in the sense that there is no stopping subpoenas and bringing people in that the Republicans want to bring in. So they can't go, no, you can't do this, right? Like Schiff, he shot a lot of stuff down. That wouldn't happen in the Judiciary Committee. So that means that you would see and hear other people. And so they probably don't want to do that. So that means it'll be on to the Senate.
Looking ahead to a possible Senate trial, President Trump met Thursday with key GOP senators, notably frequent Trump critic Mitt Romney and Maine's Susan Collins.
When it gets to the Senate, we're going to do it. We're going to do it right. Now, everybody's going to have their day in court.
Democrats argued Senate Republicans shouldn't discuss impeachment with the president.
He's trying to taint the jury pool, and they should be above it.
You know, I listened to Nadler, and he says so she's trying to, taint the jury pool. Producer Phil, you said something the other night that was so brilliant. He says, well, hold on a second. You've got senators that are running for president on the Democratic side. In theory, they may be voting to get rid of the person they would run against. Shouldn't they recuse themselves? That was brilliant. From you. Yeah.
Every now and again.
The jury pools. Yeah. I mean, you were spot on. I'm like, I didn't even think about that because I thought about it from the other side where Mitch McConnell's like, I could drag this thing out to the night before. Like, Mitch, it's going to take time. All right. Here's the one thing, though. For all the fighting, for all the disdain, for all of this stuff, Mitch McConnell, Chuck Schumer, they are going, because theory, the reality is Mitch controls everything in the Senate. He can control it all, run it the way he wants. He and Schumer have been talking on how they're going to do this, what they're going to do. They want a joint, bipartisan, these are the rules, this is what we're going to do. So it's above board. Doesn't mean, that all of a sudden people are going to be flipping or this, that, and the other. But the reality is he wants to make it as fair and that it's not partisan. That it's not. So get ready for that. They said they could have the impeachment, like everything drawn up for the articles of impeachment and a vote by Christmas, which would mean early January. It's go time. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Love hearing from each and every one of you.
With the holiday shopping season here, it is time to safeguard yourself against those porch pirates from stealing your deliveries this year. New numbers of package thefts place Los Angeles actually 9th when it comes to thefts in the United States. The San Francisco metro area takes the top spot. Now, SafeWise did compare FBI crime data to Google searches for missing or stolen packages to create this top 10 list they have. Nearly 26 million Americans in 2017 alone were struck by porch pirates.
Yeah, think about this right now. So you got Sacramento, 10, Los Angeles, 9, Denver, 8, Austin, 7, Chicago, 6, Seattle, Tacoma, 5, Baltimore, 4, Portland, 3, Salt Lake City, 2, and SF, 1. Porch pirates, it's a real thing, right? There's a lot. It's crazy. Cause it's weird because we've got our Blink and I get my little alerts and I'll see people come up, and most of the time it's just people that we have these 2 Mormons that come over to the house all the time. Really nice. The kids are amazing, but they want to come over always and see the lizards, and we let them use the bathroom. We talk to them all the time, and they're really just nice kids. And hey, can we see your lizards? And we're like, totally fine. But we get an alert, and it's a strange thing to see somebody kind of coming up and kind of knowing what's going on. But you got to protect yourself, and it is Christmas time. And I still always am amazed by people who are porch pirates because you have no idea what you're getting, right? It's like, I got a mystery box. Could be amazing. Could be amazing. You don't know. Speaking of that, Blink, Black Friday, Cyber Monday event. It's on. Now, before you buy, what do you need to do? You need to protect your house. What do? Blink. That's what you do. These deliveries are going to be coming. The porch pirates are going to be out there. So before you order anything, get the Blink XT2 security cameras. Keep an eye on holiday deliveries, right? Now, the Black Friday, Cyber Monday event, you're going to save big. And while supplies last, a free Amazon Echo Dot. I love them. Wire free. Set up fast. 2 AA batteries, these XT2 cameras. You got the 2-way talk feature. The batteries last up to 2 years. And you just download it right to your app. No contracts, no subscriptions. Get it now. Black Friday, Cyber Monday event. It's going to be on. You're going to save up to 28% on Blink camera systems from November 28th through December 2nd. And a free Amazon Echo Dot with Blink security systems while supplies last. Visit BlinkProtect.com/sale. 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 Chad Benson Show.
Being antisocial sucks. Hang with Chad's friends on Facebook, The Chad Benson Show. And if you just need some alone time, head on over to Twitter at Chad Benson Show. Either way, we can't wait to meet the real you.
The former FBI official who has not been identified is suspected of altering a document related to the 2016 surveillance of Carter Page, a former foreign policy advisor to the Trump campaign. We're told the alleged alteration had no material impact on the warrant targeting Page, but it was referred by the Justice Department's Inspector General to John Durham, the U.S. Attorney in Connecticut who has been tasked with investigating the origins of the intelligence that formed the basis of the Russia investigation.
Yeah, and it's interesting because not the first time something has come up and popped up, and I think Trump has every right to ask certain questions about what they were doing getting these FISA warrants, and I think that's very real, that you magically can go into this room and produce very little evidence to get some of these things, and that some of this stuff was doctored, whether, again, it doesn't really play into it. No, all of it together, though, looks fishy. It does. Even yesterday, the interesting thing is, she came out, right, Dr. Fiona Hill, and I used her doctor, right, but she was talking about that, yeah, the Russians and the Ukrainians and other people were, not only was it disinformation, but they were spreading disinformation about Trump. And they were doing certain things. And that Steele dossier was nothing but, a cobbled together piece of baloney, essentially, for lack of a better word, thing put together by the Russians. Because that's what they do. And it's coming. And we haven't tightened our system. But at this point in time, here's a question. Do we really need to? Because we know what's coming. Right? Well, they're going to do it anyways. I mean, the thing that we should do is figure out how we protect our voting. Outside of that, we don't even need the Russians anymore for disinformation. We're doing enough of that on our own. So that's an interesting, thing where what can we do to protect ourselves? Well, the easiest thing that we can do is what? Look around and go, well, I need to be more educated on this stuff.
As soon as Twitter announced last month it would ban political ads from the platform, questions emerged about what that would entail. The social media companies tried to clarify ahead of the ban taking effect today and says anything referencing an elected or appointed official, a candidate, or a political party is not allowed. An immediate gray area is ads specific to issues. Twitter says it will allow ads about topics like the environment, but not anything calling for specific outcomes related to those topics. Twitter says it's moving quickly because the timing is urgent.
Yeah. So, and they're just trying to say, well, we'll stay out of it. But it's not even about whether or not you buy an ad now. You can just get a bunch of bots set up and fire off disinformation. There's only so much you're going to be able to do. But the fact is, we receive this disinformation, and if it affirms our belief, we'll share the hell out of it and spread the lies. So unless people are more open to learning the truth or doing a little research on certain subjects, it's tough because the disinformation is going to fly in. They may not be able to buy ads, but at this point in time, do they really need to? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Coldplay. If anything came out of climate change, Chad, that's not very nice. He named his kid Apple. Like his first name. It wasn't even like a second name, which was kind of cool. I could do that. We'll talk about that. Climate change. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I like music. You guys like music? You do? How about having some fun?
Reviewing your own documents, you have remembered a lot more.
Yeah, what triggered my memory was someone's reference to A$AP Rocky.
What's my name?
A$AP Rocky.
What's my name?
A$AP Rocky. Everyone was in the loop.
They know.
Chief of Staff Mulvaney.
They know.
Secretary Perry. Giuliani.
They know.
Vice President Pence.
They know.
I emailed Secretary Pompeo.
It's me.
Secretary Pompeo replied,
I saw.
I spoke by phone with President Trump.
The devil.
Was there a quid pro quo?
Yeah.
A$AP Rocky, Jay Leno, and the Kardashians were all part of the hearing, and they didn't even know it. Trump wants he really wants a trial. That's what he's excited about, a trial. He was on a little Fox and Friends today, just his normal show, just doing his thing.
She's a tremendous person. She was fantastic during the hearings. Turner, so many people, they were so great. But you know what? The bottom line is all of those witnesses, they're all shifty shifts. Don't forget, there was no due process. You can't have lawyers. We couldn't have any witnesses. Right. We want to call the whistleblower. But you know who I want as the first witness? Because, frankly, I want a trial. I could have it.
You want a trial?
Whatever I want. Oh, I would. Look, number one, they should never ever impeach. This is not impeach. I watched 5 people on your network yesterday say there's nothing here.
He wants a trial. You're going to get one. Congratulations. Tell him what he's won for Christmas. A new trial. So we'll see how that is. Oh, my goodness. Still not going anywhere. People are mad because I'm telling he's not going anywhere. And people are like, well, you have no morals or you're a bad person. Why? Because I'm not a senator. Are you a senator? If you're a senator, knock yourself out. Then you know which way you can vote. Well, but you should want him to be gone. Look, nothing matters except for what those senators think. Right? And we are not what? We are not going and putting pressure on any of the senators. Are you? Are you calling your senator ever? You going to see your senator? Right? Are you doing any of the things if you want him gone? And are you going to go see your senator? Are you going to see her? Right? Is that going to happen? We're in a very interesting position here. So here I am in Arizona. We've got Martha McSally and we have Kyrsten Sinema. Now, Sinema just won last year, so she's got a lot of time left before anything, but she's a Democrat. Very progressive, but has kind of become a centrist. Martha McSally, she ran against Sinema. She didn't win, but she took over for John McCain, and she's got to run again to beat Mark Kelly, but the state is becoming more purple rather than red. Could they both vote for removal and also vote, both of them vote for no removal? Because oddly enough, Kyrsten Sinema in many occasions has voted with the president, even though she's Democrat. So there's a lot of things, because not everybody who's a Republican may vote to keep him there in the Senate. And there may be some Democrats that surprise people who are in districts that are, or in states where, you know what, guess what? Yeah, he won pretty heftily and I got to be careful here. So you just don't know who's going to, but what I do know at this point in time, there's not going to be like 17 of them that are jumping ship. It's just not going to happen. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. So there's good news that came out of the climate emergency, which, by the way, is the word of the year, right? We talked about that, Oxford, the word of the year, thanks to Greta Thunberg, who is a time traveler, if you've not seen the picture. Was it like 1889? There's a girl that looks just like her, right? Like probably in Russia. It looks very Russian, like she's plowing. It looked just like her. Miserable, same scowl, the whole 9 yards. And if she is a time traveler, then I would like to say, how dare you live in 1889 and not tell us? It's not very nice, Chad.
Coldplay's new album drops Friday, but the band won't be touring to support it. The reason? Frontman Chris Martin says touring is just really bad for the environment.
The hardest thing is the flying side of things.
He tells the BBC they're going to take the next year or so to work out the details.
Our dream is to have a show with no single-use plastic, to have it be largely solar-powered.
And he says it's important
not to be too overzealous in criticizing others, because everyone will catch up if you prove that it's easy to do it the right way.
He says he wants their next tour to not only be sustainable, but also beneficial to the environment.
Well, then raise money for it, right? Raise money, right? Say there's no reusable plastics, and then you can do what? You can sell cups that can be reused over and over again. There's a win right there. Solar may be hard if you're going to play at night. It's maybe a little tougher, right? But it does make me laugh. I understand what they're trying to do. Yesterday, I was watching, or this morning, I was up early and I was watching the Race for Dubai, which is the golf and the Europeans. Their Race for Dubai is the big championship in Dubai, and you've got to qualify throughout the year. But this year on the tour, there is no more plastic, so water bottles. So like golfers have to have reusable, and they say it'll save about 50,000 of those, which is great. I mean, anything we could do to make it better, I've got no problem with. We should be looking for better alternatives to get off stuff, more fuel efficient ways, stuff that's cheaper, because that benefits all of us. But the insanity is very real.
How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood.
But wait, I've been a consumer reporter for years. I've covered so many scares. Plague, famine, and perpetual war will kill us. We're going to run out of oil. Nuclear power will give us cancer. Killer bees swarm ever closer. Bird flu, flesh-eating bacteria. The list of terrible things that were going to get us is long. None of those scares turned out to be as frightening as the warnings.
Yeah. None of them. None of them. And remember, we've only got like, I don't know. They're counting down. I mean, they say 12, but I don't think so.
Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction.
The alarmists have evidence that supports their fears. Temperature is rising. The UN predicts that it'll rise another 2 to 5 degrees. But does that justify the fear?
Climate change is not a lie, so please don't let our planet die.
Does it justify this claim?
We have 12 years to act.
We have 12 years.
We have 12 years before the effects are irreversible.
Really? 12 years?
12 years. 12 years. Just look at all the proof, right? They got tons and tons and tons and tons of proof. It is all proof. And if anybody else is a professor or a climatologist or any of these other things, and they've got proof against it, well, they're just liars.
The alarmists say hurricanes and other storms are getting worse.
It's getting stronger and stronger. The winds are getting harder and harder.
No, they aren't. You can take a look at all the hurricanes around the planet. We can see them since 1970 because we got global satellite coverage. Right. And we can measure their power. And we can add up their power. And there is no significant increase whatsoever. There is no relationship between hurricane activity and the surface temperature of the planet.
Uh-oh. What do you mean? Here's the thing. So we're going to go, everybody wants to do what? Zero emissions, right? Like, how awesome. Like, America, we're going to go zero emission. So if you break it down, how good is that going to be? Because I'm telling you what, when you go zero emission, this changes everything for the entire planet.
Government action today will save us.
We have to act now. The Obama administration's model projects that the amount of global warming that would be saved for going to zero emissions tomorrow, you don't know how to do that, put you back in the Stone Age, but let's just say we did it, would be 0.14 of a degree Celsius.
So no real effect on the climate, but
you'll sure have an impoverished, dark country, won't you?
Yeah. There's so much that goes into it. There is. But the reality is, and the thing that I've always said, is we need capitalistic ways to come up with these ideas. But understand, using fear is about one simple thing.
The idea that carbon dioxide is carbon pollution that just does harm and threatens the food supply.
Governments like control. Carbon dioxide becomes that molecule by which we can take control of your lives, of your efforts, and everything that goes on.
Yes. And that's the big thing. If you've ever watched into the intergovernmental climate panel, right? You go and you look, and you see what they want to do at the UN and how they're trying to shape things and remake things. It's truly about that, and they've used people's emotions to get to the point where you do have this insane hysteria. Have we played a part in this? Absolutely. There's like 7.5 billion into us, and look at all the things we're doing. The Earth is much stronger than we give it credit for. And and here's something else. Most things go extinct, whether we're here or not. Things come and go. Things happen. Eventually, could we possibly go extinct? It's possible. Highly likely. Is it happening tomorrow? No. Or 12 years? No. And if it's going to happen in 12 years, I have news for you. The chances of us fixing it, probably slim to none. But it's about control. And that's the thing that drives me crazy. That people don't see that. Right? They don't see that. They see something and it's like, oh, they get emotional and all of a sudden they're willing to cede control into something and let's change everything, even if it damages. But as long as other people have control, that's great. And that's insane. It really is. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text as well. It's interesting because we're 56 years ago. Today was the assassination of Kennedy. And somebody earlier said, if you could change an assassination. Okay, Phil, if you could change an assassination, right? Who would you do? Is it Lincoln? Is it Oswald? Is it Kennedy? Is it the other Kennedy?
That's just so hard to think about.
Right? Because you got to look at everybody else and go, look, we were going to save you. We decided against it.
I'm going to need a spreadsheet.
Yeah. Like for me, somebody, Archduke Franz Ferdinand that's kicked off World War I. That's an interesting thing. If you could essentially change one of those, what would that be? And for me, it was like, okay, Lincoln is like, oh, Lincoln's the obvious choice. Is he the obvious choice? Is it Archduke? I mean, look at that. That kicked off a war that killed how many millions? Right? Kennedy. Because of what he meant to the country, even Oswald, who was assassinated, because what did that lead to? Well, we never really found out the things that left a conspiracy. I mean, there's so many different things there. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. AMAC, Association of Mature American Citizens, fastest growing over 50 organization in the country. Working hard for you on common sense immigration reform, making sure that what our elected officials do in Washington don't hurt, cripple, or even destroy Social Security and Medicare. On top of that, offering you great benefits from retail, restaurant, hotel discounts, and so much more. So join me right now at AMAC. They're going to help you and everybody else out there fight the good fight. Become a member today. Benefits are great. Causes even greater. And get this, it's free to join. My listeners can join for free right now. 1 year. It's on me. amac.us/Chad or call 888-355-1617. That's 888-355-1617. amac.us/Chad. 1 year. It's free. It's on me. AMAC is better. Better for you. Better for America. Chad Benson Show.
Boys, give me a bowl of chili with plenty of peppers.
One Mexican heartburn. Why don't you mugs grow up?
The Chad Benson Show, where independent, a la carte thinkers have a seat at the table and a voice in the dialogue.
I'll have what she's having.
This is Chad Benson.
Mr. Rogers, I'm here to interview you.
It is so nice to meet you.
This piece will be for an issue about heroes. Do you consider yourself a hero?
We are trying to give the world positive ways of dealing with their feelings.
I probably will see it, not this weekend. And Jack and I talked about this a couple weeks ago because we saw a trailer for it. And, you know, he doesn't really, like, Mr. Rogers isn't his jam because, you know, it's not on anymore like it was. And back in the day when, you know, we were kind of limited and, you know, he came into our homes and he changed everything. So that opens today. A few other things, including this little movie from Disney. I don't know if it's maybe I could be interesting. Who knows?
Anna, I am worried for her. We have always feared Elsa's powers were too much for this world. Now we must pray they are enough.
I won't let anything happen to her.
Yeah. Did almost 9 million last night. So, beautiful day. They expect to do 17 million. Ford, Ferrari, 18 million. But number one this weekend, without a doubt, period, case closed, end of story. Frozen 2, 120 million is what they're looking at. So we were joking earlier because we were talking about Coldplay and then we were getting into like our guilty pleasures. So my guilty pleasure, I'm just going to tell you guys this. I do have a little bit of a guilty pleasure with a lot of horrible music. And this morning was no different as I was rocking out. A little bit of this. You're like, what is this, country music? Oh, no.
Such a feeling's coming over me.
Oh, yeah, I was rocking out. In the car, 5 in the morning. Oh, what a voice. I'm much of an eater, but what a voice. Is that a jerk thing? I felt like that was a jerk thing. Yeah, they're one of my awful guilty pleasures as far as like, really? Like you're all tatted up, I got a beard, look all angry, and I'm just, like, if somebody was pulling up next to me, they're like, what the hell's wrong with that guy? What's he rocking out to? It's like, is that Sex Pistols? Are you listening to something awesome? Is that Rancid? I'm like...
Top of the world, looking down on creation and the only explanation I can find.
Oh, my God. It was just... And so then you get into work, and what's the thing I do? You go right to YouTube, and you start looking. And so into YouTube, and producer Phil, I don't know if you know this, but she was a hell of a drummer.
I did know that as a matter of fact.
Yeah, she was awesome because they had her playing at the when that song first came out, and they had Richard, who wrote a lot of the songs but really kind of put everything together. Richard Carpenter, in this weird world, he was the one who kind of did all the speaking and did everything. But I'm flipping around, I'm looking at them doing it live. They're at the White House doing it live, and she's drumming and she's rocking out and she's singing that. But then it goes to like 1981. It was the next one, and she was almost unrecognizable. The voice still sounded like that, but you could see that, you know, she was on the downhill with her eating disorder. That was tough. Like, what a voice. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. 2 people said, yeah, you know, the whole thing about Duke Fran Ferdinand and his being assassinated, maybe the assassination that people change. 40 million people died in World War I. 40 million people. When you think about how many people were on the earth, you're like, wow, that's a lot of people that disappeared. Yeah, 40 million people, and countless people. But on this 56th anniversary of Kennedy being shot and assassinated, you'd have to think, if you could change one assassination, what would it be? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. You tweet at me. Check out the Instagram as well. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show.